bear with me. So this meeting is now being live streamed, always a good thing. So let me now just go to my phone and see what's coming up on me thingy-majig. Cara, I feel like I've known you forever already. One of them there feelings, you know that. There we go. And comments will be seen here soon. Cara Morris from Hobart, is that correct?
Yeah, Saltwater River.
Saltwater River in Tasmania.
Yeah, the Apple Isle.
Yeah. So you're what you've called a Tasmanian Australian, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. I've never met you before, my love. I don't know anything about you other than the couple of things that you've sent me. It just seems to feel right that you and I connect for some reason, because that's the way I live my life now. I just go with what I feel rather than what my head tells me. Because most of the time, this thing up here, what I call the seat of stinking thinking, tells me lies all the time, right? And the whole purpose of my show, is called Getting Real with Dr. Joe, is from my own point of view. I became very ill, and I won't bore you with the details of it because most people have heard it before. But I became very ill, basically listening to my head, because my head was just full of nonsense that had almost like been programmed in me from the external world. And somebody showed me that if I can tune into what my heart's telling me, like heart intelligence, that's probably a better way to go forward. So for the last 33 years of my life, right, I've been listening to my heart, and it's basically transformed me. So what I'm saying, it's called Getting Real with Dr. Joe, because all my life up to that point was just a pretense, really. I was just acting. I was ducking and diving and dodging and weaving, and I was just sort of on the lookout all the time, really trying to protect myself. I don't know why I've said all that, but does that mean anything to you at all, my love?
It does. It does. I've spent a long time trying to stay out of the head and into the heart. A lot of your shows have actually helped me along the way. Yeah, like you said, just trusting the messages that we get, no matter how weird they seem. It's really, I really feel grateful to be in a place where I can trust these messages and share them with others, and in hope that they help them too.
So the big thing is, where are these messages coming from, and how can we trust them?
Well, I try and keep a direct channel to the source, the prime creator. That's my main go-to person. So I figure with an open channel, I can trust these messages, keep myself clean, and yeah, I know they're coming through. I recently connected with my twin flame, so I did get a lot of messages through that connection, just about some of what everybody's feeling. There's obviously some changes coming. And I think we've all been waiting for these changes, and we've all felt them in our own ways. The game has sped up, and everybody's had enough of the old matrix. So I think we've all got to a place, or we're getting to a place, to where we need to be for the old matrix to end and the new to begin.
Excellent.
And what that looks like,
oh, go on then.
will be
Sorry.
interesting.
Yeah, because as they say, Confucius is supposed to have said, may you live in interesting times. They're certainly very interesting times. But, some people listening to this may hear you say things like connected to source and prime creator and getting in touch with your twin flame. They may think that's a load of old bollocks. What have you got to say to them?
I've spent too long on this path now, where I've spent most of my life talking to animals and talking to trees, and connecting with zoology was a big one for me, coming out of the isolation phase after awakening. And the awakening, I feel, it's kind of like when the third eye opens, basically, and you start seeing things and you're able to connect the eye to the heart. and you basically just learn to trust yourself. I was always, a psychic as a kid. I grew up on a farm. I spent a lot of time with animals. Dogs used to talk to me. Bees would talk to me. I would have fairies and angels and birds and all these things that I felt more at home with than humans. So it wasn't anything new to me. Yeah, it just feels right, I guess.
No, no, well, I mean, you know that I understand this totally. And when you say that dogs and plants and animals talk to you, what do you mean? How does that feel? I'm not trying to, this is not an interrogation, really. It's just to try and sort of help people to understand who may be going through similar things and feel they're alone, really. So what do you mean? I've got a thing going up my, this is always a good sign, this, Cara, when I get this thing going up my spine and out the top of my head, and I get like a sort of a knee trembler feeling, so that's like my intuition or my heart intelligence or my soul saying, go on, son, you're on the right track, carry on. So just to ask you, can you try and explain to people what you mean when you say that I talk to the trees and they don't listen to me and all that sort of business?
Sure. So I usually get some sort of confirmation that what I'm seeing is true. It could be from like when an animal talks to me, I'll obviously hear it in my head, and then they'll act a certain way. Like I'll give you an example. My old dog lost his collar on the farm once, and I said, "Where's your collar, Muck?" And he said in my head, "Oh, follow me." And so I did. I followed him like a couple of acres down the farm, and then there it was. He sat right beside his collar. So I got to get the feeling, and then I got to see it physically in the world. So it was like, oh, okay, I'm not crazy. He's actually led me halfway down a farm to show me where his missing collar was. So
No, I understand and appreciate what you're saying. And the first half of my life from an occupational point of view is as a biomedical scientist. So I was very, very left-brained, left linear, and I did a lot of studying because I love medicine, I love biomedicine, I love all those sorts of scientific things. And then lots and lots of things started to happen to me. And basically, it had always been in the background of my mind, this stuff, because I was very sensitive as a child. And I could almost pick up people's moods, even though I wasn't with them. For example, if my mother was upstairs and she was having a bad time, I felt it, And because I was so sensitive, right, I used to protect myself from it. And so it was almost like, be aware, she's on one. Right. And then at another time when she was happy, right, and in another room, I think, oh, it's okay to relax, So my sort of upbringing, and it sounds like my mum's a bad person, but she's not really. She too was a sensitive person, and her mother used to read the tea leaves, because we come from an Irish Catholic Celtic background. So my grandma or my nan, she used to read the tea leaves. So that's the sort of environment I was brought up in, But for the first half of my life, that was all closed down a lot, really. I see that now. And I became like a scientist. So when these things started to emerge again, right, I thought I was losing it, And Cara, what I did was, in order to normalize myself, I used to medicate myself with drink, with alcohol. Because what alcohol did was, it almost closed that side of me off and helped me to sort of be normal, if you like, in this 3D world, And then I became I know that this sounds like it's all about me, but it might help people who are listening. When this sort of emergence of these old gifts started to come to the fore rapidly, I couldn't handle it. And I tried on a few occasions to do myself in because I couldn't handle all the information that was coming in. Anyway, thank God that never happened. And I started to see the light and understand it a bit better, really. So I do understand, I live in this real weird two-world situation where part of my job is to be in medicine, conventional medicine. And the other half of my job is to hang around, right, with loads of nutters, like you, like Elsa, like all these people like Todd Medina, because I see now, for me, that I'm a sort of a middle person where I've got to let go and allow these two parts of me to get back together again, to start to act in a more simple way. I've got no idea what I've just said there, but on that note, over to you. And does that make some sort of sense?
It really does. So I basically was shut down for about 20 years. And I actually thank those years because I was able to relate to people. I joined the Merchant Navy, working on cargo ships. So, I'd be driving 400-meter ships surrounded by men, and it was basically, you don't talk about this stuff sort of thing. And that was good because it helped me relate to people and be down to earth about this. During that time, I had a very serious marijuana addiction, and I definitely tried to do myself in a few times. I tried to, hang myself in one of the engine rooms, but I prayed to Archangel Michael at the time, weirdly enough, and next thing I was packing the rope away. So I recently overcome the marijuana addiction, and that was, it was just, I guess, what people have talked about, these power days. I felt like I was extra strong that day, had extra will, and all of a sudden I was not smoking weed anymore, and then I didn't want to smoke tobacco, and it was a process, and it was kind of like I was always trying to get back to that memory of when I was a kid and I didn't need anything. That was always what I wanted. I was like, I just want to get back to when I was a kid where I could just deal with things and still have fun. And that seemed like that was locked away inside of me somewhere, and it was like a gift waiting to be found. And it's a daily thing, like you said. When you've had an addiction, you remember that. When you remember what it's like to be strong without it, you just, that gives you strength to go on.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think myself that this is, for me, this was about cleaning my act up, really. And it was no dependence on anything chemical. And I'm only talking about me now, because that whole situation, I mean, I've taken everything. I think that's every single thing, because I used to work in an environment where when people came in with overdoses, we had to have all the pure ingredients, you see. So there was a whole host of everything available to me. And when you're a sort of scientist and a researcher, you've got to try things out, haven't you? You've got to experiment.
You really do. When my spiritual sight come on, I was remote viewing everything, and I was working in an engine room at the time, and I'm like, oh my God, people would think I'm crazy, and I feel a little crazy. So there's on the ships, they've got like this oil seal around the propeller shaft that keeps it lubricated, called the stern tube. And I would sit there and I would meditate, and I would picture how far the oil level would be in my mind's eye. And just to check I wasn't full of it, I would go to the oil level and check. And every time without fail, what I saw in my mind's eye was what oil was there.
I can't hear you for some reason.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. So go on. You were saying you wanted to check the oil level to see if your remote viewing was telling you the truth.
Yeah. Every time I would check it with my physical eyes, it would be exactly what I saw in my mind's eye.
See, this is interesting because, I know now that these things that were happening to me, at first I was diagnosed as a psychotic and they didn't know whether I was bipolar, schizophrenic, and all these things. And all it was is, as you well know, it was the emergence of these deeper abilities that are available to all human beings. And I think, like you, I think that things are speeding up now, where all these sort of compressed, repressed, suppressed, oppressed energies are starting to come up now. So people are they're cracking up because they don't know what's happening to them. But it's all part, in my view, of this evolutionary process to take us back to what we originally were. That's what I really feel in a big way now. And I think my job and your job and people like ourselves is to say, look, we've been through that bit, right? this is what it is, take it or leave it, and here's maybe some simple practical tips to help you to keep calm as you're cracking up. You know,
Yeah,
and it's got to be
yeah.
done, you know, it's got to be done with a light heart, I think, really, because some of the stuff that comes up, right, can scare the shit out of you, basically, you know. What do you think?
I think that's right. Yeah, keeping grounded, keeping it simple. It's really what it's about. Some of my hardest days, when I was trying to express and feel all that was coming, it was a mixture of, you know, have you drunk water? You know, do you need to get your feet out on the dirt? You know, sometimes I needed to jump in the ocean and just wake myself up, or get out in the sunshine. Um, just self care, and and the support, like, of, I guess, believing that I'm not alone, and that there is something non-physical out there watching over me, and that I can call upon help if I need it.
And so just to go back again, because in this community, right, some people think that there's a lot of evil, negative forces, that when we open up and we meditate and we open our hearts, that we can be attacked by all these forces, right? Can you say anything about that? Because people do get afraid of it, right? Is there anything that you can say?
Yeah, look, I totally resonate with that. When I first started waking up, I was very afraid. I was always praying to archangels to cleanse me of entities, or cut my cords for fear, and getting Archangel Raphael to coat those cords in emerald green healing energy. And yeah, it was, and listening to others as well. You know, just following where your heart sent you. I always seemed to, for me, it was books. You know, I was a great reader, and I just seemed to come across these books that just seemed to give me what I needed at the time. Um, so out of those books, I used it in my spiritual practice, which was very much, you know, the little engines. If you think you can, or you think you can't, either way, you're right. So even when my spiritual sight wasn't open, I knew how powerful, if I believed I could do something, I knew how powerful that was, because I'd seen it. I'd seen, you know, myself live on the streets, and wanting, you know, wanting to do better, and all I had to do was believe that I could do anything, and I could. That belief in oneself and what you can create just on your own, it's very powerful.
No, I agree, and it's almost for me, it's a feeling that comes from deep within me, you know. And I'm not a religious person. I dumped religion, you know, because I have a different view of religion these days. But it's a sense of an emergence of like an energy or a power that comes up in me when it's required, really. And as for being possessed and demonic attacks and all that now, the word I'm up to now in my sort of growth is bring it on. You know, it's like, oh, behave yourself, you know, off you go, you know, because I see the sort of, you know, when you're open, it's like flies around shame, you know, landing on a cow's tail, really. I've got this sort of cow's tail picture in my mind, that it lands on me and it goes splat, off you go, stop messing about, you know. So, or the other thing I see in my mind is it's like a windscreen wiper on the car, you know, it lands on it and I go like that, go on, out the way, in order to maintain a clean and clear vision, you know. So that's where I'm up to now. But when it first started to happen, what used to happen to me is all the old ideas about demons and possession and all that used to come in. And I see a lot of that now is almost like pre-programmed fear from long time ago, you know. And what I feel now is, and this is, Cara, this is just the way I feel it, you know, I think that a lot of people now, even in the spiritual community, right, bring in these so-called fear worries and things like that, you know. And I'm not interested in any fear-based stuff anymore, you know, because like you, I think that this power or this energy that comes in, if we can trust it, it'll keep us going. It will put us in a place, or it will help us whatever place and whatever thing presents itself, it will help us to go forward if we can just let go and trust it. And I think that's what this is about now. Is there's so much stuff happening in the external world. It's almost like we have to just keep going forward with an open heart and a big smile and just deal with stuff as it comes along. I feel like a preacher this morning. In nomine Patris et Filio et Spiritus, bless you all. Over to you, Cara. Say something about that.
No, I really resonate with what you're saying. I mean, it's really hard to watch or be laughing and, you know, or be in a room full of laughing people and not want to laugh yourself. It's very powerful, the joy. Yeah, my middle name is actually Joy, so it's a very powerful word for me. Just to stay in joy, and what's meant to be will be.
No, lovely. I agree. And there's that thing coming up again. Like it's a lovely feeling. I get this feeling. I don't even try and work it out now. I don't care who it is. It could be angels, right? Because I was brought up. I actually got sent away for a while to train to be a Roman Catholic priest, you know, at the age of 11. And lots of stuff happened to me in that seminary. So it's deeply embedded in me, the Roman Catholic idea, you know, and part of it at the core is absolutely beautiful. But there's so much shit, in my view. I mean, you know, it's just this is the way I see things. There's so much shit that was covering the beauty of it that I've spent a long time sort of clearing away all this nonsense, you know. So that's where I'm up to. So I did believe in angels, and to a large degree, I believe in the energy and the energetics of different angels, because what I think is that they represent different streams of consciousness. You know, they represent different abilities that are actually available now to all human beings, you know. So I'm okay with angels. Now, some people don't believe in angels. They believe in extraterrestrials, you know, fine by me, whatever works for you, right? And whatever sort of makes you happier and therefore a nicer person to be around, carry on, you know. And if you're surrounded by negative people, right, just walk away from them and go and find some joyful people, you know. But sometimes when those people are close to you, like the people you're married to or the people that your family and stuff, it's sometimes difficult to walk away from them and develop your own life. I've got no idea. I'm just saying this stuff. It's probably going to cause all sorts of trouble, but hey ho, you can't win them all. Over to you, my love.
I resonate with that too. There's times where I've had to step away from family members, even for a whole year, and I've never stopped loving them during that process. It was just me learning to love myself and honor my own feelings. Obviously, that was something they weren't really big on in the 80s or prior to that, expressing one's feelings and being okay to do that. Whereas in today's classrooms, they actually have feeling corners, and they have certain colors where if you feel that color, you can sit with that emotion and feel it until you're ready to come back out into the world. And that's just such a wonderful place to be, that we can honor how we feel and do the changes we need to do, because when you love yourself, you're able to love another so much more.
No, I agree, and I think colours are important. They used to, though, even the police, you know, they found out that if they painted the cells a particular colour, then the arrestees didn't kick off so often, you know. And I've experienced this in my journey. I experienced that quite a lot, you know, because I was locked up many times for drunken disorderly and causing a nuisance, you know, many times, you know. So I don't know what I'm talking about here, but, you know, it's all coming out now. So for those people I work with in medicine, yes, I've had a bit of a life. But, you know, Cara, I can see now, when I tried to do myself in on the last time, and I hope it's the last occasion, you know, what happened to me was the peace that passeth all understanding descended upon me. And for a split second, or could have been eternity, I understood how every single thing worked. I was given the key to the whole understanding of the cosmos and the universe and all that sort of thing, and even given a mathematical formula, like a cipher. And it was almost like a voice said to me, "Here, son, This is how it works, right? Right. And I got the
Yeah.
feeling that I was turned around at the gates of heaven or hell or whatever it was, kicked up the bottom, and got the feeling of, listen, just keep in touch with us. They say us, right? Keep in touch with us. Here they are now, whatever that means. Keep in touch with us, and step by step, we'll guide you to a better life. And just try and show others how to do it for themselves. You don't need to tell them what to do, other than help them to reconnect with the source of their own power and to follow that guidance. And people say to me, what shall I do now? And all I can say is, the answer that you're looking for, the solution to all your problems, is not in here or out there. It's in there. So go back in there and ask the question, will you please help me, please? Because I don't know what to do. And that's what I do in my life now. I wake up every morning and I just say to me heart and soul, what's on the cards today? Give us a clue. And if you can, send us a few bob as well. If you could send me the lottery numbers, just in case they're listening, if you could send me the lottery numbers, because I could do such a lot of good with loads of money, right? That would be good. But other than that, give us a clue, And I tend to go with the feelings that emerge now. Because what happens to me is I get a feeling and then a thought will come in from a different place, not something that I've conjured up, but it'll just fly. And I know that you know what I'm talking about. So I open my heart, wait for the thoughts to come in, and then I try and take the action on that. And my life's been transformed. I wasn't always this handsome, you know what I mean? So yeah, so not everything changes quickly, but we can only hope, So go on then, say something about that, because
Look, I totally agree with that. I've been getting the feelings that I needed to come out and talk about my experiences for a while, to the point where my teeth were starting to get wobbly. And yeah, I've done certain things and it wasn't working, and I just felt like, yeah, speaking the truth. I really needed to come out and just say, look, this is what I've been doing.
yeah. And the thing is, it's, to me, it's about trial and error, really, because I think we get a lot of distraction energies coming in as well, just to try and sort of, it's almost like noise that's trying to prevent the clear signal from coming through. And I think that the more that I sit in the silence, if you like, open my heart up, I can almost tune in to a much clear, let's say it this way, tune into a better channel and a clearer frequency, really. And to be honest with you, Cara, I don't know the difference between channeling and what's coming direct from source. And I don't get too involved with that, really. But what I feel is, if I'm open and flowing and directly in communication with source, that any energy that's coming through is coming through under the direction of source anyway. So I've got nothing to worry about, you know. And I've talked to lots of people about this, and lots of people I hear in the spiritual community say, I'm not channeling, I'm actually, and I think, oh, okay. And I'm still not quite sure about that. I don't know whether you can help me with that at all.
Well, I must admit, well, I had no idea what I was going to talk about when I come on today. And I meditate, like I meditate a couple of hours every morning, because it seems to make me calm for the day. I don't get grumpy, and I don't have to, play the drums as much. And so just that meditating and being clear, I find it helps. And when I come on today, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? And then bam, something comes into my brain, and I start talking. And
You've gone off again.
have I?
Yeah.
I had to end up coming out in the garden. It wasn't working inside. But it's kind of nice. I've got a couple of blue wrens and some nice birds around me. So that's always good signs too. I sent a dear sister a message this morning, and I was wondering whether you always like confirmation to see, I wonder if I'm, getting the right message. Is this a channel? And then out of nowhere, a massive rainbow appears out my window. So it was like, oh, okay, yeah, that kind of feels right. and when I looked at the rainbow, and I even thought maybe it's just a rainbow, and then it got brighter and brighter and brighter. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, that feels right. That feels like I'm saying the right thing or doing the right thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you know, this thing about am I channeling, you know, am I channeling, am I giving misinformation? As far as I'm concerned, the end result, if you're a happier person, you're more helpful, you're less moody, right, and more vital, filled with enthusiasm, then that's got to be the way forward, you know. And if you're not like pushing your opinions on somebody else, I'm never pushing my opinion. All I'm ever saying is, this is how I see it, right? Take it or leave it, you know. And if it, as you say, if it resonates with you and it rings true, right? Because true rings are very important, especially if you're being guided by Uranus. Anyway, that's another story for Elsa Dillon. That's another story for Elsa Dillon and me. But you know, it's not my intention ever to cause any harm, right, to anybody, and it never has been. And have I harmed people in the past? Yes, I have, and very badly as well, you know. And how do I feel about that? I don't feel guilty about it anymore because I see clearly the whole purpose of it now, you know. So I've almost like I've not been forgiven. Nothing outside of me forgives me. I think what happens is once you see the clear reason for it and understand it, then that's when it neutralizes and that's when you move on then. You know, that's just the way I see things. Now, there might be people out there thinking that's a load of old crap, that. Well, that's fine. That's all right. But I've developed my own personal philosophy that I live by, right? But it's not cast in stone because I might need to throw the whole lot away tomorrow and pick up some new ideas as I go along, you know. So everything's dynamic. It's moving, you know, and I'm not trying to tell anybody that they need to do anything, right? I'm just suggesting that what they need to know, the solution is like it dissolves problems, a solution, you know. The solution to all their problems, in my view, could be wrong, right, is in here, not in here or out there. Over to you, old chap.
I totally agree. Yeah, I got really involved. You talk really well. I just want to like listen and zoom into what you're saying. It's so true. You can lead a horse to water. It's that sense of empowerment, and I've really found that as a mother that I can't tie their shoes for them. I can't do these things because I'd be taking the gift away of them learning themselves. And when a person gets their power back, that's when they start to feel happy. They're like, I overcome this. I did this. I can do this. Maybe I can do another thing. Maybe I can overcome something else. All those little hurdles make you stronger. It's it's what a superhero is. It's not how strong you are. It's whether you can get back up after you fall. And how many times can you get back up?
It's true. And so you're a mum. How many kids have you got?
I've got two sons, 7 and 8-year-old.
Brilliant. Can you tell us the names if you want to?
Sure. The eldest is Vincent, and the youngest is Solomon.
Fantastic. And I'm sure that
they actually...
Go on, sorry.
Oh yeah, they're fully switched on. They give me a lot of messages. Yeah, I think they chose their own names. I remember with Vincent when he first was born. I said to him, "Hey, do you like the name Vincent, buddy?" And he actually lifted his head and looked at me. And babies aren't meant to be able to lift their necks when they're first born. So I was kind of like, all right, he likes his name.
Oh no, I'm fully, because I think part of my role is really about education, but it's not us educating them, it's them educating us, you know. And I think, yeah. Lots and lots of people talk about star seeds now and children and stuff like that, you know. My feeling is there's no special groups of children. that every child on this planet, every single child on this planet, when they're born, they're actually bringing with them a unique vibration, that if they can be actually nurtured rather than spoken to, not rather than told, if they can be watched, you know, to see which direction they're growing in, and then we can actually provide the food and the water and the minerals and all that to allow them to grow themselves. I think that that's going to be the way forward, and it's definitely happening now, you know, in the fields of I mean, I'm a big pusher for home education now. Causes murder, you know. I'm definitely here to cause trouble, and I love it, you know. So home education, back to nature, and allowing nature, right, to actually guide their own inner nature to bring through these gifts that we need, because we've made such a cock up of of everything on the planet, you know. And, you know, I mean, I say this a lot, and people who've heard me, and they'll be bored with this. Well, there was a poem I read, and it just broke my heart. It was about children, you know. Our children, or your children, are not your children, right? They come through you, not from you, you know. And they're basically life's longing for itself. And I see, I get emotional reading it, but I can see now that we've almost been misguided and misled because of our own naivety and stupidity and arrogance sometimes, that we've been misguided by unscrupulous forces who've wanted to keep us imprisoned and in a state of slavedom. Oh God, here he goes. Here we go. Now, I wonder if you've got any commentary on that I've just said.
Yeah, and again, what you said about them telling you and showing you the way. I've got two complete opposite. My youngest one, Solomon, he desperately wanted to be homeschooled. It just didn't suit him. So he started homeschooling this year, and he's very happy, and he's just doing his thing. Whereas my eldest, Vincent, he wanted to go to school. He felt that was his path, and whatever he chose to learn in this life, that's the path he had to go on. So it wasn't about what I wanted, it was about what they wanted, and trusting that they knew what they wanted. Obviously, I don't trust when they say, Mum, can I eat chocolate for tea? But when it comes to certain things, oh, you know, if they're having a bad day, they might get a bit of chocolate, but not every night, you know what I mean? But yeah, I just think listening to what their needs are and being open enough to trust that they know what they're doing has helped them trust themselves too.
Now, that's very interesting that you say that, because do you feel, or because I do, definitely, I feel that this deepest part of us, this, I call it the soul, you know, the source of unconditional love, that's what it is to me, right? Do you think that chose its pathway before it was born?
Well, to a certain degree, I feel that we chose, this has brought me peace, I guess. So that's why I see it that we chose our parents before we come here, because they have exactly what we needed. And that's helped me not judge other parents or judge myself. Just holding on to that realization helped me love myself more. So whether it's, you know, take it as you like, but I just felt that, yeah, I do feel they chose me to be their parent, and I do feel I chose my parents, because I think about all the things I had to overcome in my life, and I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. It's taught me so much. So I do feel there's a certain path there. I think we have choice marks where we can, you know, like nothing's in stone, like, yes, you must follow this path and that's it. I think there's a bit of free will in there involved for sure.
No, I agree with you. I think the way I see it is that the soul, before it comes here, this is just my way of explaining it. It picked the curriculum. It's a bit like being on the holodeck, you know, of the Starship Enterprise, and it goes, "What sort of game do you want to play this time, Joe?" "Oh, I think I'll do that alcoholic one. It looks interesting, that one, you know, and this will put me up 3 points on the soul's discovery process, you know." And then the curriculum manager says, Are you sure? Because it's quite tough, that one, you know, right? Are you sure?
Yeah.
And then the egomaniacal soul says, yes, I can handle it. And then the curriculum manager then says, well, when you press that button, you'll forget what you just said. And it'll be a process of, it will emerge one day at a time, right? Here's the
Yeah.
only choice you get, Joe, whether you want to take it as a journey of self-discovery and try and do your best, or whether you want to be miserable and happy and be a victim and say, oh, this is all too terrible, this, right? I never chose this, you know, that one. So, and that's what I was like for 38 years of my life. If only they changed, I'd be a lot happier, you know. And somebody said to me once, what about if only you changed, right? And let them get on with it. And that started the journey of me re-empowering and stop being a whinging, whining victim, you know what I mean? So
Oh, mate. Yes.
yeah. So that's it really, is every time I feel emotionally disturbed, and this is only me explaining, you know, it's a lesson in it for me that in some way that's something that I need to learn or understand or take an action on that I've previously ducked away from before, really. And what I've also found out is not only in this process am I helping myself, but I'm almost helping to rewrite the script of my ancestors as well, you know. And so this is helping in all sorts of ways around. Something that's just come to me is where you're up to with, and how do you feel about reincarnation or different timelines? I'm asking you hard questions here. You know? You can tell me to piss off, you know. I don't want to answer that. Yeah, that's okay.
I would if I needed
Yeah,
to.
you know what? I can tell. I know that, right?
Oh yeah, look, I totally believe in reincarnation. I remember my nan used to tell a story about she went to Venice, and you know she was from Tasmania, grew up on the island her whole life, and she went to Venice once, and she got lost, and then all of a sudden she knew her way. She just knew her way back to around the streets, and she come home and she's like, I definitely was reincarnated. I just remembered my way around Venice, and I've never been there before. So I always held on to that for sure.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I keep open to all this, but you know, I have like recurring pictures in my mind, you know, in my third eye or whatever. And the one I've got now is, and this comes back, is that I'm actually in an ocean, right? And a cavalier, and somebody shoots me with an old musket, right, in my shoulder as I, you know, and why would that pop in from nowhere? And I get into, fair enough, you know, but I always keep open to it, because then there's the other sort of thing about different timelines, you know, multiple realities all happening at the same time. And when I try and understand it, my head gets battered and I think, oh, whatever, you know, what do I need to do today, you know? So on that note, I sometimes get this is what's happened to me, is I got from a very early age this great big enthusiasm for ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, and always to do with healing and medicine. Even that when I was a small child, I had these feelings, you know, and throughout my life, these have grown stronger. And I can't remember when it was, but I was introduced in my head or in my heart or whatever, right, to this sort of person called Imhotep. Imhotep. And so I went and did some research about Imhotep, and he was apparently an ancient healer from ancient, you know, from ancient Egypt, you know. And I've looked into this now, right? And where it's taken me back to is, it's taken me back to, he was before Hippocrates, you know, the Greek person and stuff like that. So what's actually happened is, in the last few years, this Imhotepian energy, right, has almost like been guiding me more and more now, right? And certainly over the last month, this has been coming back now. And I'm just talking about this, to some sign of the zodiac, which was missing and blocked out, really, called Ophiuchus or Ophiuchus, right? And it's apparently the 13th sign of the zodiac. And Cara, you couldn't make this stuff up. I went and looked at Ophiuchus, right? And it said, this is related to the personality that was Imhotep. And I thought, how do they do that, right? You know, and where it's taken me, where I'm up to on my little journey now is I'm looking back to the stars, because I don't follow like the solar sort of 12 planetary thing. I look at the stars because I feel in my heart, in my romantic heart, that we are each a star, you know, and there's a particular star or a star cluster or a star system that guides us throughout our lives, you know. And that's what I do in the morning. I'm fascinated with the whole thing about astronomy, astrology, and the influences that these things have upon us, you know. So I've got a big link. But what I got told is, Joe, you're being guided by memories of the future. And I thought, well, what do you mean memories of the future? And I got, because if you go back far enough through ancient Egypt and back through Samaria and back through all those Assyrians and back through Babylonia, you'll actually come across, right, ancient, not ancient, but future civilizations that have been part of the development of the hybrid human being. And I think, well, that's very nice there. Thanks very much. A bit too much for me at the moment. So can you drip feed me with the information and try and explain what it means? So that's where I'm up to at the moment. Does that mean anything at all to you?
Yeah. So I've had a lot of different memories that have come to me where I just seem to focus on a certain star system for a while. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with Venus. I'd sit out in the paddock and I would just get excited when I'd see Venus in the sky. It felt like home. And then I got really I was always connected to dogs, and then it went on to the star Sirius, and I just got really connected to the star. You know, when I was at sea, I was like, oh, there it is. You know, I'd be looking for it and it'd feel like home. And it happened with a few different star systems where one by one I would feel connected to them, and I'd remember what possibly would be a mirror life there. And like you said, you can't make this stuff up. Like my brain, you know, I don't think it's, you know, yeah, I just feel like these memories felt real. And I just went with them. And, you know, obviously I go about my day as a normal human. I don't read into it too much, but I'm still open to the information and curious about what I did there, or why the feeling was so strong, and just kind of went with it and enjoyed it. And, you know, whatever gifts I could get out of it, that helped me on my day to day. And I think a lot of these memories that come through do tend to, well, they certainly helped me day to day. I could be doing something simple around the garden, and then a memory will come in and it will be like, oh, I remember doing that somewhere else. You know, it's like a mirror version of this. One thing I actually do is I love finding four-leaf clovers, to the point where I actually got the tattoo, because it's a fun thing to do with kids to help them believe in themselves. Is I would picture the four-leaf clover in my mind, and I would picture that it was on the lawn, and then I would I just have to believe really hard that there was the four-leaf clover I saw in my mind was now in the grass. And then every single time there would be a clover there. And it kind of felt like I was plucking it from the mirror realm and bringing it into this realm. And it was just such a wonderful, joyful thing just to go, oh my God, there's a four-leaf clover, and I couldn't see one before, but I really believed it was going to be there, and it did.
I think that's beautiful, because that's what I feel. I feel that the deeper we go within ourselves, the further back we get. The inspiration comes in the thoughts, which are actually helping us for the future. So by going backwards, we're actually being given information on how to plot out the future. You see what I mean? Because I think it's coming from a different energy, a different star system. Now, it's funny you should say about Sirius, because I have a very strong connection. And you mentioned dog and the Dogon tribe, you know. So the Dogon tribe, they're famous for sort of watching the stars, but being very connected to the Sirius star system. And I keep getting, Joe, it's not just about Sirius A and B. And I've got no idea. I didn't have any idea. I've got more of an idea now about star systems and things. But I got Joe, it's about Sirius C. Sirius C is returning, right? And I go, well, what do you mean by that? Sirius C is the representative of the heart. And it's really about a reunifying force, because A and B, right, are basically polar opposites. And, you know, so I get a lot of like science and physics stuff that comes through. So that's where I'm up to with this. And Sirius C and the Sirius system also connects with Imhotep and Ophiuchus and loads. Alpha Draconis is coming back online. But I mentioned at 4 o'clock this morning, I was wide awake. I put my iPad on and I got taken to this whole Ophiuchus thing. And it said, and this cluster over here, associated with Scorpio and a new portal, is also representative of, and you like this, is also representative of the Garden of Eden, right? And so the Garden of Eden's back online. And I know that you've mentioned about the Garden of Eden. Do you want to say something about that? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, sure. So I recently I've been having a lot of visions of a garden in my dreams, and I actually went. It's funny you mentioned Sirius and Sirius C, because I'm just having a few thoughts come to me that where my sons and I, quite recently, we went to a place in Tasmania called Darwin's Crater. And Darwin's Crater, in the northwest of Tasmania, it's it was a massive meteorite that hit Tasmania, and it's said to have come from the Sirius star system. And when I went there, all the rocks were like, all the mountains were purple, and it was this beautiful lake, and it just felt like love. It felt beautiful. And I always felt like, you know, I was guided to go there, and it just felt quite close to what my dreams were. Um, yeah, like I got a lot of channeling, and about 2012 there was a lot of stuff going on in some of the mirror realms, what could be heaven. And I felt like a long time ago the garden got hidden, and I think that was all part of the inverted matrix. Why I say inverted matrix is again because swans talk to me, and whenever a swan is got its head out of the water, it feels like this is this realm, and whenever the swan's got its head under the water, kind of feels like that's the mirror realm, like it's like inverted. But I felt like I could feel the garden. I always felt connected to this garden in my dreams, and yeah, the whole leaves, the whole Adam and Eve leaves, all those sort of things. There was always just something going in my dreams. I actually was in a garden last night in my dreams, where there was just these old stones with moss around them, and I was just a caretaker. I was basically like a gardener, just, you know, I even got to have a coffee there. It was weird. But like on my break, you know, like I was just like cleaning a garden like I do at home, just, you know, hands in the dirt. But it felt ancient and it felt old, and the caretakers were huge, and it was like, oh, that was an interesting dream. But I feel like the garden is within us, and it's connected to that love, what you're talking about, the open-hearted realm. And I feel like there's a lot of code and information in plants, and a lot of healing, whether it be physical or like a spiritual way, you know, from there's obviously a lot of medicines from plants, but there's also a lot of physical healings. There's a great writer that writes a book, Robert Reeves. He talks about the healing power of flowers, and he channeled each flower's message. And it was lovely because it helped me, because I'd had a big war with agapanthus. I should go somewhere where you can actually see me. Yeah, I had a big wall with agapanthus. They're just like a type of weed in my garden. And then I channeled that they were for world healing. So it seemed that each flower had a power, like flower power,
Very good.
basically. And they all had a consciousness like everything else. So a lot of that got forgotten along the ways. And I just feel like we're starting to remember all those things. They're all coming online really quickly. Every time I go to sleep, I have this Aboriginal that will take me on walkabouts. And then the next day, I will get some kind of realization about a plant to heal me. Like I was getting toothaches, and then I just happened to open a book and it talked about the hot bush. And the Australian hot bush is great for, if you boil it, it's great for toothaches. It can actually cure a stingray bite. So there's just so much with all these plants that are everywhere that are coming online. And I think that's part of the love frequency being reactivated, is just remembering. And that's where the digital, physical, and spiritual comes in, is where we digitally get the downloads of what will spiritually help our physical, basically. And that's what the garden's about.
Fascinating. I mean, when you sent that thing about the Garden of Eden, I then got the thing is go to YouTube, Joe, and I put Garden of Eden, and that song came up that I sent you, that Joni Mitchell one, and that was all about flower power. That was about Woodstock, right? And the 1960s, yeah. And it was all about returning to see. Look, here it comes. This is. It's all about the return to the Garden of Eden, you know. And you mentioned also of the black swan. You know, in science, the black swan is that there was only ever the belief that there were only ever white swans until the black swan was discovered. And up to that point, science was adamant that there was no such thing as the black swan until one appeared, and it changed the whole. So there's so much going on. I mean, I believe wholeheartedly, you know, because my wife is very into homeopathy, and me too, you know, homeopathy and essences and spiritual essences and very subtle vibrations and all this sort of stuff. That's my whole life now, is about subtle energy medicine. And I understand things like Bach flower remedies and essences, you know. So what we need is in nature, and anything that's trying to stop us creating or allowing nature to sort of rebloom, we need to look at that in a very serious way and stop them stopping us, basically, you know. And I'm absolutely adamant about that we're being given the power to say, stop, no, I'm sorry, we can't let you carry on with this. We're going to return back to the Garden of Eden, you know. And I feel that wholeheartedly. And I think that we've got so many influential forces that are helping us to do this, that I think the more that we let go and just allow these processes to happen, we'll individually at the soul level work with our own unique individual gifts, and that's when we're all starting to work together, you know. I feel like a preacher now really on that one. But Cara, love, we've got 1 minute to go. You know, have you got anything that's coming to you? Just simple, straightforward, practical tips that maybe might help some listeners to just sort of reground themselves if they're having trouble, and just to get a clearer picture of what they need to do next. Have you got any ideas? I'm sure that you have, so I'll shut up if I can.
It's all about vibration, doing what you can to raise it and keep it raised. Yeah, and following your guidance on how to do that.
Okay, and how did they tune into this guidance thing that we're talking about?
Less is more. The less you do, the more you get.
Being
so more, slowing down.
I had a phrase came to me.
Pardon?
I had a phrase came to me: being more by doing less.
Yes.
Okay.
I love it. Mwah.
So, Cara, thanks very much. It's so lovely to meet you. As I say, I have that feeling that we've known each other a long, long time. We're already mates, So it's
Yeah,
been
kind of feels
lovely.
that way.
Yeah, it's been absolutely lovely talking to you, and no doubt we'll be talking again sooner or later.
Well, thank you so much. Got to
Thanks,
see
my
the
love, and have a
sunrise, the
lovely
sunset.
have a lovely sleep, and I'll speak to you whenever.
Thank you so much for sharing. Love you guys.
And you. Bye
Bye.
bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye.